Getting paid from my beats was hard until I learned these 5 things that I'm going to break down for you in this video. And these 5 lessons helped me make my first 100k producing. And it also made me a top 2% producer with over 127 million streams. Understanding these 5 things was key for me, and hopefully it's equally as helpful for you as well. Lesson number 1 is to find product market fit. You might see this and think, what the hell, this isn't like a dropshipping video, isn't this about making beats? What do you mean product market fit? Product market fit exists here as well, because when you're going about making this a career, then you're entering the music business, and when you enter the business, your beats basically become product. You want your beats to be made in genres and styles that are in demand. Let's say that you make a bunch of beats that are Jersey, for example. Right now, Jersey is a little bit down. Jersey is not being used as much. Then you might have a hard time finding people that want those types of beats. Let's say that you're making a style that's in right now. For example, you're making a lot of hood trap beats, but you're making them in a way where they don't sound catchy, they don't sound nice. Then people aren't going to be using them. I hear this all the time where people say that you need to have high quality beats. And I think that high quality beats are super important, but what's even more important is just the general idea behind the beats overall and making beats that people actually want to use. Because artists don't hear beats in the way that we hear them. We think about the sound selection, the sound quality, the mix. Artists and listeners, they do not hear any of that. All they know is, does this give me a vibe that I want? Can I vibe with this? Do I like this? And from an artist's perspective, do I want to use this? What determines that is just the general idea and concept of the beat overall. That is why it's so important to get product market fit and make beats that are in the styles that the rappers you're working with want and that the market wants in general. In the beginning, I actually failed to do so. I'm from Sweden and I was working with a lot of Swedish artists. I was making a lot of like American style trap beats in the beginning. I had a very hard time getting people to use my beats because it just wasn't what people wanted. So there wasn't no product market fit there. And because of that, I just stayed stuck because I would try to get my beats to people. They then wouldn't use it and I got no placements. And because of that, I made no progress, right? So I would get in touch with somebody, send them beats, then never hear back from them because it wasn't the type of beats that they wanted. Now, the way I fixed that was by analyzing top 50 charts and using references. So you can find the top 50 charts on Spotify. If you're in the US, you can also use Billboard. But basically, the whole point of this is that you want to listen to the highest performing songs in whatever country you're in to get an understanding of what it is that works and what doesn't work. So if I'm in Sweden, I would listen to the Swedish top 50. And then I would listen to all of the songs, not just the hip hop songs, but I would probably listen more to the hip hop songs. But I would listen to all the songs and find common themes and patterns. So things I would look out for is like, what is common sound selection I hear? Like, are they using a lot of piano? Or all of these songs using electric guitars? Like, you'll be able to find a lot of patterns between all of the high performing songs. And when it comes to sound selection, you especially want to focus in on the genre that you're in. So if you're making trap and hip hop and stuff like that, like focus more on that. But it will teach you a whole lot. I also listen out for tempos and drum patterns because tempos, bounce, drum pattern, all of those things are things that really drive people to want to listen to something. Like that is what really cements the vibe of your beat. Because if you take a beat, you have it at 140 and you make it trap, it's going to have one type of vibe. Whereas if you make it drill, it's going to have one type of vibe. So I just listen through all of the things to see, okay, what kind of drum patterns do I hear? Do I hear a lot of Afrobeat drum patterns? Do I hear a lot of trap drum patterns? Do I hear a lot of drill drum patterns? Like for example, right now, hood trap is pretty big. Like you can hear a lot of hood trap drum patterns. Then you know, okay, that is what the market most likely wants. Then another thing I also listen for is chord progressions. And I noticed that for most songs, like on the top 50s, like in whichever country you choose, they're not using that many different chord progressions. And I've actually even went through and compiled all of the most common chord progressions with examples that I found on the top 50s. And these are like the chord progressions that are used over and over and over again. If I make beats with these chord progressions, I know that I'm going to be making beats that sound just like the high performing songs that people actually want to use. once I analyzed the top 50 charts and I got a general understanding, then I would use references of high performing songs. And the reason I like using references is because instead of trying to be original and like reinvent the wheel, if you use references, you get winning concepts that you can kind of plug and play and do in your own style. And this is like a common pattern that we see for basically everything. The iPhone wasn't the first phone, but it just did it better, right? So it took a concept that was already winning and working and did it better. And that's what you want to do with your beats as well. When using references, which references you choose to use will come down a lot to which artist you're working with and what they actually want from you. First of all, ask the people that you're working with for references, because that will give you a clear understanding of what it is that they actually want. Second of all, is that you listen through the artists that you're working with, you listen through their songs, and then you on your own go out and you find songs that sound similar or are in a similar vibe that are high performing. You can use those as references for your beats, and you're going to be making beats that already naturally have product market fit. Because if they already worked once, if you do your own version of that, it's going to work again. And this is so universal, and I can even show you a couple examples of this. So if we go to top 50 France, for example, there's this one song I'm looking for. All right, so this is a song I was looking for. Right now it's at number 34, but it's been on the charts for a very long time. That's 12 million streams. And I want you to listen to the beat. Fire, right? Then, if we listen to this beat right here, which also huge song, right? Very similar, and both of them worked. This was a hit, the other one's a hit, both of them work, and that is because the beats have what I like to call product market fit. This is very common practice, and when I started implementing this, that is when my beats really started being great, and people actually really wanted to use them, and I was able to make a total of 9 records myself on the charts. This made it so much easier for me to actually make really good beats that people actually wanted to give me money for, or beats that actually could become big songs so that I could make money from it. So that's the first thing, and that's the first lesson. Making beats that have product market fit. Now, if you're a trap producer and you want to produce music full time and you feel like you need some extra help, then I have a free community just for people like you. People are in here getting wins. I got a bunch of resources for producers, and I'm doing one free feedback call every week. So if you're really serious about producing full time, then you're very welcome to join this. The link's going to be in the description. Lesson 2 is that a premium brand equals more money. What will give you a premium brand in a music context is going to be your IG and your proof. That is what's going to determine the quality of your brand. The first thing that I did was that I fixed up my Instagram, and I chose to go with like aesthetic and clean pictures of me, my beats, because that was the only proof I had in the beginning, and then other proofs such as releases and placements and stuff like that. Proof is going to be more important than how aesthetic your Instagram page, because proof is showing that you actually know what you're doing, and it's showing your value. Because if you're able to make big songs, have a lot of credits and placements and a portfolio, that is far more valuable than you just looking cool on Instagram. However, the first step is just having like a decent, nice looking Instagram page to begin with. I can just show you what my new Instagram looks like. And it's nothing crazy, but it's like just regular pictures of me in the studio. This one has like a little vintage edit. Then of course, proof matters a lot. Proof helps. And yeah, here I was in a nice studio. So I chose to take a bunch of pictures, show that off, put my beats in between. So the more proof and stuff that you have, the more premium of a brand you'll have. However, you can't really control that in the beginning. So for that reason, the first thing that you want to do is just make sure that your Instagram looks good. And I found that it's more about what you don't have on there rather than what you have. So like having these weird AI visualizers, low quality beat visualizers, low quality crusty looking images overall, like you just want to avoid that and look like a producer who takes themselves seriously and is quote unquote like expensive. Like, it's actually important because your Instagram kind of becomes like your resume in this case. And you of course want your resume to look good, because if it doesn't look good, all of the other things like networking and getting people on your beats and reaching out, that will be really, really hard if the first impression you give to people is really, really whack. Imagine it's like you going on a date and you look absolutely homeless. Like your hair's all in a mess. You have dirty clothes with holes in them. You have to take off your shoes and your feet smell. And I don't know, you have disgusting things stuck in your teeth and you got snot hanging out your nose. That's going to make your date have a really bad first impression of you. And it's the same thing here. So that's why you just want to make it look nice, look aesthetic, look clean, just the way that if you were going on a date, you would probably like take a shower, shave, fix yourself up, make sure that you look nice. You want to do the same thing with your Instagram. But then once you've done that, just like when you go on a date won't care if you look the best, if you have absolutely no personality or you're just like retarded. What gives you personality in the context of producing is the proof and the credits and the connections that you have. And that's why once you got this set up and you're consistently posting a basic, nice looking post each week, spend 90% of your time collecting proof, because that is what's really going to strengthen your brand. For example, all of the producers that we know, that we look up to, for example, we can take any big producer, Dr. Dre, Metro Boomin, whoever, really. We know them and look up to them, and they have a strong brand because of the songs that they made. They make countless and countless of hits and big songs. And that is their proof, right? So the proof matters more than anything. So once you got a nice like Instagram routine going, spend 90% of your time just getting proof in the form of releases and connections. Now, lesson 3 is to get high-level connections. So we want to know the people who have access to the good opportunities. And this is something that I got wrong myself for a really, really long time, because I thought that if I just work with people, somehow I will magically get good opportunities that will take me to the next level. However, all people and all connections, rather, aren't created equal. So what I mean by that is that you can work with somebody who is a new starting artist. They have really nothing going on. Perhaps they're not even that good at making songs. You can spend all of your time and put all of your time and effort into working with them, but it's not really going to go anywhere, because you're going to make songs, the songs are going to release, and they're not going to stream. So nobody's going to hear it, which means that nobody's going to hear you or your beats either. Whereas the second option is that you can start working with people who actually have motion and are going somewhere. So if you work with somebody who has motion, let's say you release a song, the song gets attention, the song gets streams, and people like the song. That will help you grow as a producer, because all of a sudden you're a producer who's making songs that gets attention and gets streams, which people like listening to. And that will again become proof that you're doing great music, and that will make more people want to work with you. And I misunderstood this for a really long time. So I thought that if I just work with random people, then I'll automatically just start growing as a producer, which is false. So we can even take a look at the songs I produced, and you can actually see just by the numbers. So here I was just working with just about anybody. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. You need to start somewhere. But if you get stuck in this place forever, where you're not really making any numbers, it's going to be really hard for you to start making an actual career from this and to grow your brand and get you to the point where you can work with artists who actually have money. So I was stuck here for a really long time because I didn't understand that I needed to not only improve my beats and stuff like that, but I also needed to improve the connections I had. I would say here is where I got aware of the fact that I needed to improve my connections. And then once I got aware of that fact, you can see how the numbers are just picking up. And this is where I could start producing full time. So with all of that being said, having the right connections will give you the right opportunities. And these opportunities, granted that you handle them well, will lead to releases. That will lead to proof, which then loops back around, gives you more of the right connections, more of the right opportunities, releases, proof, and ultimately ends up with you being able to make money from your beats. The way that we get there is that once you produce for a little while, perhaps you worked with a bunch of small artists, you got in your initial learnings, you feel confident, then you start networking with people connected to bigger artists. And you basically just want to network one step ahead of you. If you're just starting out, it can even be hard, like getting to people who are connected. Like even that can be hard. But then you just network one step ahead of you. So if you're working with an artist who has 10K monthly listeners, you then start reaching out to artists who have 40K or 30K, and you make sure that you get them on your beats. Because what that is going to do for you is that you're going to be working with higher levels and levels of artists over time, which is going to result in you making bigger songs, which is going to result in better proof, which is going to result in more money, because bigger and bigger artists can actually pay you because they're actually making money from their music, and it also makes sense for them. Second of all, by getting to bigger opportunities, you'll just make more because there's more money in the bigger opportunities. And that's why networking one step ahead is so important, and it's something I neglected for a very long time, and because of that I stayed stuck for almost 2 years and made zero progress. Now, lesson number 4 is to make songs. So you want to put most of your time and attention into making songs, not just beats. The reason that songs are important is because songs is what the goal is, right? Like beats are made to become songs 90% of the time. If you're not making songs, it's going to be harder to grow your brand, because what other artists cares about at the end of the day and what will make them want to work with you is not just your beats, but rather the songs that you made. This links back to proof. Like, it's so important. If you put your time and attention into making songs, not just beats, you will be able to accomplish that. Songs are important as well because songs pay you in 3 different ways instead of just one. So we can just take a look at this right here. So when you have a song, although this isn't displayed on the pie chart, but when you make a song, you can get upfront payments, right? Then you have the sound recording, like the master, and you'll get royalties on the master. Then we have the composition, which is the publishing side of things. So there you'll also get royalties, and it will get split equally between everybody involved in the record. So here you'll also be making money. And that is something that you just won't do with random beat sales when you're just hustling them for like $30 or whatever. And when I say making songs, what I mean is that ideally you want to get in the studio with an artist. However, if you can't get in the studio, make sure that you can get on the phone with them, you can talk with them, you can even do like remote sessions. But you want to be there to help them make, conceptualize, and finish a song. So if you can, engineer them. If you can, write. If you can, top line. And most importantly, make custom tailored beats for the artist that you're working with. If you link up with an artist and then you make a custom tailored beat for them, you even give them suggestions on what to do with the beat, what type of song you can do, etc., etc., etc. Then you engineer it, then you help them write it, then you, if they get stuck for melodies, you help them top line it. Like, you're there and not just providing them with a beat and saying, here you go, do whatever. You're there and you're actually helping them make a fully finished song from start to finish and help them bring their vision to life. And what that is going to do for you is that you're going to become a far more valuable producer, because you basically become a one-stop shop for these artists where they can just go to you, get a finished full song ready, and release it. Now, lastly, lesson 5 is to be easy to work with. None of the strategies that I outlined here, like getting to higher level connections, working one step ahead, having a good Instagram, making beats that have product market fit, none of these strategies will work if you're difficult to work with. And if you're difficult to work with, this will be difficult to make work. The reason being easy to work with is so important is because people will most of the time work with people they like working with. It's not necessarily about you being the greatest or you being the best. If you're nice, easy to work with, fast, reliable, and you deliver a good quality product, I said great here, but doesn't even have to be great, just a good quality product, you'll be far ahead of like 99% of producers. A lot of producers are difficult to work with. They're going to be taking ages to respond. They're not going to be reliable, like they might not even show up to sessions. They might not make the beats that they said that they're going to make. They might not make the edits that they said that they're going to make, or they put their ego in the way. Like, for example, I worked with an engineer once, and it was really hard working with him because I would send my beats to him. He would mix them. I wouldn't like the mixes. The artist wouldn't like the mixes. We would ask him to change stuff. Then he would give me a bucket list of reasons why it can't be changed. to add on top of that, like just getting the first draft of the mix took like a week. It was impossible. And then I would always get like complaining. So for example, if we had a short deadline or whatever, I would just get a bunch of complaints all the time. Like, oh no, I can't do this. No, this is too little time. Eventually, I stopped working with him. Not because he's necessarily a bad person, but just because it was super hard to work with him and get stuff done. Every time I had a song, it would take ages to get it done. Then I would have revisions and I would have to literally get on calls and like have arguments ready as to why these changes needed to be made. And it would be like a 30-minute to an hour-long call every single time I wanted to make a single revision. So that became really difficult. I even started mixing most of the stuff myself. However, at other times I worked with other engineers where it's like super simple. So they just say like, hey, you do the groundwork, like the mix, just tell me what you want. Send me the stems. I send over the stems. They fix it up. I have it back in an hour. Amazing. I ask them for revisions. They just make it. Boom. Done. And this is how you want to be as a producer as well. So if you're working with an artist and they're like, oh, I don't like this melody, then don't like take it to heart and be like, no, this melody is good. Like, change it. Or if they say, oh, can you make the drums this way? Make the drums that way. You will gain so much by just being easy to work with and helping people bring their vision to life in the fastest, easiest way possible. And doing that will allow you to get better connections. People will come back to you. You will have multiple releases with the same artists. And because of that, making money with your beats will be easier. So just to recap this, lesson 1 is to get product market fit. So you want beats that are in the styles and genres that are in demand. Lesson 2 is to create a premium brand by having a nice looking Instagram page and then focusing on getting proof in the form of releases and credits. Lesson 3 is to start getting high-level connections by networking one step ahead of you, providing a great job, and then leveraging the connections that you have into bigger and bigger connections over time. Lesson 4 is to become a full-on producer and help artists make songs. And lastly, lesson 5 is to be easy to work with.